So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever the world finds you. We're so glad to have you here today. My name is Matt Nash, and I'm the Managing Director for Social Innovation at Duke University's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative. I'm also a professor of practice at our Sanford School of Public Policy. So on behalf of my colleagues here at Duke University and our partners at UNICEF and the U.S. Fund for UNICEF, I'd like to welcome you to the conclusion of our virtual forum on social innovation, which it's just been an exciting week. All week we've had inspiring programming celebrating social innovation in menstrual health and hygiene. So we're so thrilled you could be with us here today on our final day of what we hope will be an annual forum. Hopefully it will not be virtual every year. But if you wouldn't mind taking a moment and introducing yourself in the chat box, open it up, give us your name, your affiliation, we'd really appreciate that. So for those of you who don't know, the Duke-UNICEF Innovation Accelerator launched in late 2019 with a call for scalable innovations in menstrual health and hygiene, particularly in East Africa. In collaboration with the Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene team at UNICEF and UNICEF country offices in Burundi, Kenya, and Tanzania, we selected 6 exciting social enterprises to participate in this first cohort of the accelerator. This virtual forum on social innovation is meant to be a celebration of our community and to welcome new faces from across the globe into the fold. So we're so thrilled for those of you who could join today for the first time, if you've not had a chance to join some of our other activities. In particular, I want to welcome you to today's panel session, Taking Control of Periods, Innovations that Put Power into the Hands of Girls, featuring 3 of our amazing social enterprises in this first cohort. For those of you who had a chance to join in, this week has been a treat, hearing from so many amazing innovators on doing such incredible work. Today it's a treat to hear from these innovators, and so glad you could join us. I also want to take a moment to thank our colleague and collaborator at UNICEF, Danielle Kaiser, who's also the co-founder of the Menstrual Health Hub. She's done such amazing work in helping to curate many of these sessions, including today's session. So her thoughtful curation and organization has just been meaning so much. And so special thanks to you, Danielle, for all you've done to help us make this week such a great success. So I'd also like to thank, we have a very special guest here today with us to serve as our moderator. And so I'd like to introduce you to Patty Alaman. Patty is a senior gender specialist at UNICEF in New York. She has a multidisciplinary background with degrees in political science, public health, and medical anthropology. Prior to joining UNICEF, Patty worked for many years at USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, as a gender and health technical advisor. So please join me in welcoming Patty. Patty, we're so thrilled you could be with us here today. So thank you and welcome.
Great. Thanks a lot, Matt, and welcome everyone. This is a super exciting way to spend our Friday. And I really just want to encourage everyone who's been joining in the last couple of minutes to introduce yourselves. Let us know who's part of this discussion today. So please put your name, put your organizational affiliation, anything you're really excited about learning from this panel into the chat, and we'll be moderating that throughout the session. I really just am so thrilled and honored to be asked to moderate and to have this discussion with 4 friends here today. And this is really about how we're valuing what girls know, what girls are living with their experiences, and what solutions they have for their periods, for their menstrual health knowledge. And how are we, in various ways, taking that wealth of knowledge and thoughts and putting it into different solutions that are taking and putting the control in the hands of girls. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the flow of the panel today, because I think it's always good for all of us to know how we'll be able to engage throughout the discussion. We'll spend a little bit of time really hearing from these different enterprises, these different organizations, about what have they, through decades of experience, been hearing from girls of what girls think about their periods, what they struggle with, what they're dealing with. And then we'll translate that into how has that been part of the design of creative and new ways of thinking about menstrual health. programming. And the examples that you'll hear today really run the gamut of what we mean when we say innovation. They're definitely linked to technology and apps, but it's also new business models, it's new ways of communicating. And I think you'll be really excited about that range of what innovations we're going to be discussing. But then most importantly, we really have carved out time that we're going to be able to hear from you. And so we really encourage you to put your questions into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen as we go along. And from the beginning, why did you log in today? What do you want to hear from this panel? And we'll make sure we respond to all of those questions through the course of the day. So I'm really particularly want to make sure that we honor that this is about the voice of what girls want and what girls need. And that for UNICEF particularly is important. And we will be moving into the International Day of the Girl on the 11th of October. And we've been having lots of discussions, UNICEF and numerous partners around the globe, on really what did girls want to have as their advocacy focus in the coming year. We launched an advocacy theme on Day of the Girl, and then we honor that theme throughout the year. And this year, the theme is My Voice, Our Equal Future. My voice, girls' voices. And I think the diversity of girls around the world that, you know, when I said girls just 2 minutes ago, what was the picture you had in your head? And what I hope today is we'll be able to see the diversity of girls and their age diversity, their geographical diversity, all forms. And it's really a powerful community that we really want to honor today. And I really, you know, look to our panelists to be able to give us that range of who we mean when we say putting girls at the center. So for the panelists, I'm really just going to give a rundown of who you'll hear from, and you'll hear more from them as we go through the moderation. So we have Florence, who's from Tanzania, and she's with FEM International. And she'll tell you a little bit more about FEM International when she talks in just a minute. We have Emily, who is from UNICEF, a colleague of mine, and Hannah, who's also going to be talking about a super exciting app that's been designed with and for girls and is now expanding to different geographical markets. And then we have Bernie. And Bernie's going to be, she's from Tanzania as well with Thai, and she'll be telling a really, really interesting work that they've been doing around girl curated and designed storytelling. And to kickstart us, we're going to go directly into a video from Thai.
Hivi wenzangu, naulizeni kitu. Hivi nyinyi mshaanza kupata siku zenu?
Kivipi labda? Mbona sijakuelewa?
Anamaanisha umeshaanza hedhi?
Mbona kitambo? Toka nilipokuwa shule ya msingi.
Sasa pedi huwa mnanunua wenyewe au mnaletewa? Maana huwa nawaza, naanzaje kusema napofika dukani afu namkuta mbaba sasa.
Nishai kununua kama mara 2 tu, lakini mama aliniambia nitumie vitambaa. Huwa mara nyingi si shule wala nini, kwa sababu sipendi kupata hivi za kuchafuka.
Thanks a lot. So throughout the event today, we'll be showing different visuals to really help bring to life the stories that we are talking about. And we're going to go next to our panelists. We'll go to the first question. And it's really about, in all of your different organizations, you've been working with girls for decades, as I mentioned before. And to give the sense to everybody who's joined us today, let's talk a little bit about what you've learned from girls. What are their observations about their periods? So we can have the context that we're working in. And I'm going to go, because we just heard from Thai first. Let's go to you, Bernie. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you and Thai know girls need in Tanzania and the work that you've been doing. Over to you, Bernie.
Thank you so much. So to kind of give context of that video is that we are a social enterprise that uses storytelling and media technology to essentially educate and entertain, but on issues of menstrual health and hygiene, as well as we have other projects that are for young girls living with disabilities. So from this project in particular that is focused on menstrual health and hygiene, our observations are that most girls, as they experience changes within their bodies, these physical, biological changes, the common emotions that they face are shame and confusion. And shame because mostly they don't get to hear about the changes that they're happening. So the biological changes like parts of the body growing, and there is this there are the accidents that happen when you maybe accidentally make your skirt dirty when you go to school and things like that. So there's a general shame, but not just in the physical sense, but also in having conversations around it. So you see the animation that we just had right now is a group of girls speaking, and most commonly is that's the only place where girls feel comfortable and confident to have those conversations, not necessarily outside those circles. So most girls report to have had their first conversations around menstruation only in the school context with peers or with teachers. And with that lack of information and the kind of air of tabooness of this topic, then comes the confusions of what do you then do? Where do you get the information you need for help and support and in an accurate manner so that you can manage your menstrual health and hygiene properly?
You know, it's super interesting, Bertie, and I think you brought a couple of really interesting points that Flo will be good because you're also based in Tanzania, and to sort of keep the geographical continuum here. But you know, Bernie, the points that Bernie mentioned about, you know, girls, you know, their immediate sort of reactions are sort of shame when it comes to thinking about their periods. And the other really important point I think that Bernie's brought up is how much girls rely on their peers, and then how much is that a trusted network? How much do they have all the information? So Flo, tell us a little bit about what you know from your work at FEM International.
Thank you so much, Patty. So at FEM International, one thing we recognize is that adolescence is a key developmental stage. And what happens is when menstruators reach this phase and there's no information, as Bernie said, there's a lot of stigma, which leads to lack of conversations happening. The taboos and the cultures prevent people from openly speaking about it. And then this is where they rely on their peers because those are the most comfortable people to engage with. In Tanzania, in our experience, we found that there's a network of elderly women who tend to speak to the younger generation. However, there's the information being passed on. That's where the challenge comes in, because at FEM International, we're relying on scientific-based evidence on menstruation, whereas people are passing on information that is not based on science. And that's where like the specific problem comes in, because women and girls are faced with a reduced self-esteem when they finally experience menstruation. So because adolescence is a key phase, what FEM does is tackle menstruation right from this stage. And what we found, having educated and given girls practical information about how to manage their menstruation, we then realized that there's an improved quality of life as well as self-efficacy achieved from just knowing how to manage their periods or understanding their bodies. Body literacy is very important.
Yeah, no, and I think you're bringing up so many really key points of sort of the impacts for that go beyond just sort of knowledge of your period and dealing with your periods, and it has long-term impacts, and I think what you mentioned, Flo, about the self-esteem And let's think about what that means for any of us who are on this call today, and how that can stay with us for a long time. So it's I thank you for explaining that this is so linked to other aspects of empowerment or opportunity seeking. And I think you also brought in another really key aspect. You know, I think Bernie was talking about the importance of peer networks, and then you know, also these other networks who give information, some of which is you know, it maybe is not, like you said, scientifically based. And then what does that mean for what then the girls are going forward knowing, and how they feel supported. So maybe continuing the Africa sort of, you know, girls needs, and sort of what we know about what girls are saying about their periods. Hannah, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about your experiences as well, of what you've been hearing from girls? Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Patty. My name is Hannah from LVCT Health Kenya, a local organization, NGO, and from LVCT Health through our one-to-one digital or integrated digital platform, which provides comprehensive information on menstrual health and hygiene. We have available data from the analysis of the platform, where we have found that there are issues with stigma, especially on menstrual health management when it comes to issues of purchasing the products, be it pads, be it tampons. Also, we have issues with inadequate supply of sanitary pads, as well as information on maybe the whole menstrual cycle, and for some even sexuality. Those are some of the things that we found out from the girls. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. And I think, again, you're continuing what we, you know, if we go back to Bernie or Florence, we would know is being heard by and expressed by a lot of girls. You know, the links from menstruation to broader sexuality, and also, you know, that this is impactful on many different levels, right? So their experiences being in school, and I know that someone mentioned sort of you know, period stains and other aspects, but also, you know, what it means to go purchase, and having the finances to purchase products, etc. So maybe just to wrap up this session, Emily, it'd be great to hear from you, because you're going to bring in a different perspective geographically, but how some of this sort of transcends geographies, but maybe any other additional insights that you want to share, so we're all, you know, understanding the context of what we're talking about today about girls' periods experiences. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, Patty. As Patty mentioned, my name is Emily Minnick, and I'm currently working for UNICEF. I led the piloting of OKI period tracker application in Indonesia, and now I'm working to support the rollout of OKI in other new markets. I'm really excited to tell you more about our experience with the OKI application today. It's actually the world's first period tracking app that was created for girls and by girls, and it provides individualized period tracking and reliable evidence-based information in a fun way for girls through games and through supportive avatars that guide girls on their journey. And it was originally created with girls and piloted in Indonesia and Mongolia, and now it's being rolled out in Kenya and Mexico. When we were doing the formative research for the OKI pilot in Indonesia and Mongolia, we heard a lot of the same things that the other colleagues have already shared today. And as you said, Patty, I think a lot of the experience really is universal for girls. So we learned that girls are often shamed and penalized for having their periods, which can obviously lead to a disruption in their education and in really lifelong negative impacts on their menstrual health, on their mental health, and their participation in society. In Indonesia, almost half of girls had little to no knowledge prior to their menstruation. And in Mongolia, half of girls felt unprepared for their periods. And they also felt embarrassed to buy pads, and they didn't really know how to manage their symptoms like pain and mood swings. In both countries, girls did tell us about being bullied by boys because of leakage during their periods. And the other thing that we heard a lot from girls was a confusion. They were searching the internet for information about their period, about puberty, but they really didn't know where they could go to find reliable information to learn more. And as others mentioned, myths and taboos can also mean that girls receive inaccurate information from adults. This is really why we decided to create a digital solution like Oki, which could make sure that girls could access this critical information about their own bodies directly without any mediation. Thank you, Patty.
No, thanks, Emily. I mean, again, this is great to sort of, continue this journey of how some of these things, such as the stigma, the lack of information. I think the point you brought up of, we went from Bernie, who was talking about girls as peers and having conversation amongst themselves in school settings, and then bringing in what Florence is saying about the elderly women, and then what you mentioned, Emily, which is the reality more and more around the world for girls of searching for information on the internet as another means of getting information, and what are they finding, and what's reliable, and how do they judge that. I think that's just so important for today, for us to be thinking about and talking about. And maybe, Emily, along that, how with the Oki experience, how did you guys really put girls at the center of the design of it? Really maybe talk to us of how did you really do that in really the tangible ways in Indonesia or Mongolia to make girls feel comfortable sharing what they think and what they need? And then how did that translate into literally the app that has been developed?
Thanks, Patty. That's a great question. So we use the principles of girl-centered design to create Oki, and I do believe it's one of the key success factors. We already have more than 31,000 downloads of the app in a period of only 3 months. So I think that's really exciting, and just goes to show how much the solution was really needed. Oki was originally co-created with over 400 girls in their close social circles in Indonesia and Mongolia. And this included boys, siblings, parents, teachers, and healthcare workers. The way we did it was we had workshops with girls where they discussed and reflected on some of the barriers to menstruation education and then some of the digital limitations that they were facing in their daily lives. And then they thought through solutions together. They were so creative, and they crafted mock-ups, and this informed everything about Oki, from the technical specifications and features also to the app's look and feel. So the insights provided through this girl-centered design process were so important, as what we learned was girls' digital realities are often so very different from our own. And we realized that as adults, we may have had a lot of assumptions about how girls interact with and use digital technology. For example, we also had a lot of assumptions about what kind of information they wanted to know. And we originally thought that girls would actually just want to know about their own bodies. But what we learned is they're so curious about what's going on with boys as well during puberty. And so we added content that addressed that issue. We also learned that girls are mostly using low-end phones. So this means the app that we created really needed to be lightweight. Girls often will run out of data and have little access to Wi-Fi. So the app needed to have the ability to function both offline and online. And we learned that some girls don't necessarily have their own phone, but they do have access to a sibling or a friend's phone. So we created the capacity for multiple users with strong password protection. Girls wanted the logo to be discreet so that others looking at their phones wouldn't know what the app was for, and they could maintain their privacy. And they chose the name and the logo for Oki themselves. But rather than talking more about how girls informed and led the design, I'd like to show you what they created, and we have a video for you.
Hi, welcome to Oki, a period tracker app for girls like you. My name is Ari. Use Oki to get to know you by tracking what's going on with your body and mood every month, and learn about periods in fun ways. Create an account and choose an Oki friend like me to accompany you. We are here for you every step of the way. This is your monthly menstruation cycle. Each shape is a day of the month. And this number is your personal countdown. It shows how many days until your next period, or how many days left of your current period. Track your mood, period flow, body, and activities with emojis on the daily cards. Write in your private diary card. Test your knowledge and take fun quizzes. Check out your calendar and see your whole month at a glance. And check out the Aki menstruation and puberty information to learn new things about your body and health. And don't forget to send me some love. Welcome, friends, to Aki. For girls, by girls, period.
Wow, that's so cool. Thanks. I mean, I think for those of us who, are sitting here with other period trackers on our phones right now, and to see why this is so important, this addition to the market of how girls design. I mean, send me some love and sort of the sort of visuals. It's so key. And I want to ask Hannah to jump in, because Hannah's really now living the experience of trying to take the Oki experience from Mongolia and Indonesia, and now see what it means to live it in Africa. So Hannah, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's the process that at LVCT you guys are living to have that girl-centered design in taking the app to your context?
All right, thank you, Patty. Just like Emily, we had to go to the ground and get to look at different contexts of where to find the girls, and we have 50 girls who we took through the onboarding process. There are different ages between 10 and 25, some who have not even begun their menstrual cycles, and some up to the age of 24, so someone who has already had their periods for over 10 years. With this, we also looked at different education levels, different types of phones, their capabilities also of maybe being able to have Wi-Fi or data. And from this, we were able to find now our 50 girls, and after taking them through the onboarding process, they were able to download the app, have been using the app for about a month now. And we're ready for the next stage, which is them giving us feedback, which we've already started receiving feedback on what maybe they like about the app, what they don't like, what works for them, what they feel didn't work for them, what we can change. Then we're able to move to the next step. Yes, thank you, Patty.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I mean, I think what you and Emily have really laid out is that it's a multi-step process, right? That girl-centered design. And also, I really like, Emily, how, I think sometimes when we say human-centered design, girl-centered, girl-centered doesn't mean boy exclusive. It doesn't mean other influencers exclusive. It's just making sure that we again put girls at the center and honor what they think and want within the context of what everyone else is sort of helping contribute into the design. And I think definitely what we're talking today is about, there's many ways of putting what girls want at the center, and different types of innovations that can really move the needle in menstrual health, and apps are one. But Bernie, maybe you can talk a little bit of how how you've been working of putting girls at the center of designs in the work that you guys have been doing at TIE.
Sure. So what we do is that, so all the stories that we tell about girls are actually modeled after personal testimonies and stories that young girls share with us. So they're real life experiences that we've sort of curated to provide two things. One, relatable information, reliable and relatable information on menstrual health management, and then two, to have a safe space for these normally taboo conversations to happen. So our choice of using 3D animation versus like getting young girls to do like a play or film is very deliberate, in that 3D animations kind of create a neutral zone for taboo conversations to have. It makes it relatable to both adults and young girls alike. So when an older person kind of sees our work, they're not appalled by it, that, oh, these young girls are having conversations around menstrual health, but in the ways that they would otherwise respond to if it was actual girls having that conversation. In the same way, it is a platform for girls to have those conversations with an audience of fellow girls who are watching our animations, and then two, adults who wouldn't have otherwise had this conversation. And we sort of create these characters, as you said, having information that is a product that is girl-centered doesn't mean exclusive of other people. The characters that we introduce in all the animations we produce are actually model characters of how a supportive community can be for the challenges that girls face.
That's so interesting, and it's really the 3D animation as an innovative way of opening up communications. I mean, between girls and other women influencers that we mentioned earlier, between boys and girls. I think that's it's so so creative. And I guess, Bernie, maybe I'll just follow up with a question of how do you continue to get feedback from girls and how they're using the animations in their conversations, or how do you continue to adapt the animations based on a sort of continual loop of feedback? Emily talked a little bit about that from, the app design was, maybe one sort of mock-up version in the beginning, and then you got feedback from people as they were using it. I'm just curious, in your sort of innovative approach with the work you guys are doing, how does that girl-centered feedback loop actually work out in practice?
So how we've currently done it is that every time we do screen our animations, we get groups of students, girls and boys, in one room and have these screenings, and then we would have a discussive conversation afterwards, and girls will respond back with whether that was true to their experience, feeding back into this loop of having authentic, real stories and having even more stories to tell about girls' experiences, but then also giving feedback of how effective that as a medium is for their own personal menstrual health management information. And I'll put a link in the chat of some of the testimonies that we've gotten every time we've done some of these screenings, and so far it has been utterly positive, and a lot of girls say how they see themselves in the characters we create and how true to their experiences those are.
That's great. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is so amazing, because it's about taking real lived experiences and putting it into a creative platform with the 3D animation technology that then just helps translate that to many more girls and many more conversations. Thanks for sharing that. And, I think, Flo, the innovation that FEM International is doing is not as much in sort of the tech arm of innovation. And maybe you can talk a little bit about what you guys are doing sort of as innovation as a new way of doing business, maybe from the traditional sort of non-governmental sort of NGO approach to it. And then we will show on the screen as well. Over to you, Flo.
Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm the Research and M&E Coordinator with FEM International. I'm just going to take this because Flo's having a lot of noise issues. It's election time, and they're doing a lot of campaigning. So
welcome, Jen. We have elections in a lot of parts of the world. Please, great to have
also in November.
Great to have you here, Jen. Please.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. What we do is a little bit different in terms of what the innovation is. FEM started out as an NGO addressing the issues that people face as a result of their periods. And so we're coming a little bit from that perspective instead. And so the Twende, what we're doing right now, is more of an innovative service delivery model, I guess you could say. We're taking tried and true components from a bunch of different things that have worked. For example, we place a very high priority on M&E. And so in terms of the menstrual health component and the menstruation component, we have a lot of information on what works, what doesn't, what people want, what people need a little bit, that sort of thing. And then combined with that, we put it in a sales agent service delivery model, which has been used by other social businesses in Tanzania. So we know that model has worked in Tanzania. We're just putting the menstruation in with the sales agents who are based in the communities. And this way we can take very much a bottom-up approach to addressing menstruation. And so what this does is it takes a lot of the information that we have from girls, because we've run a lot of programs in schools with girls and we know what they've told us, what their difficulties are has been very well covered. And this time it's addressing the adults a lot in the community, which is a bit different, but what it does is menstruation is a very trickle-down effect. There's a lot of information that gets passed from women to girls, from aunties, from grandmothers, depending on the tribe. And so the information, if we can target in this initiative, we're targeting the adults, it means that suddenly at home, it's a better menstrual environment and girls are able to get more accurate information, better products, that sort of thing from the people they'd go to anyway, because they go to their mothers or their aunties. And this way they're able to get more accurate information from those important people in their lives. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And you know, I've had the benefit of hearing a little bit from you and Flo in other forums. And, you know, I think it's how to translate, you know, the long experiences you guys have had as this NGO model of delivering information and sort of the power to women and girls to choose what they want to, how they want to manage their periods. And, you know, now looking at how to make this into a potential social business model, and which I you know, I also think has so many empowering aspects for the women economically, who you're actually putting as the vendors in this model. And I also know that you guys are very concerned about, you know, opening up the offerings of products to really look at sustainable products. And you know, maybe you can talk a little bit, Jen, of some of the lived experiences of women and girls that you guys are dealing with, of how they're having to make really, really hard decisions on purchasing products versus purchasing food, and just what that choice means in the kind of products they're having to choose, and what maybe would be some more sustainable options that you're also trying to bring into this initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And that's a really important component of it. In general, and this comes from our experience as well as the research across most of Africa, is that when you ask anyone who menstruates what they want, the first thing they want is a disposable pad, like the single-use disposable pad. So it becomes a little bit of a status symbol almost, that, oh, I can get this. It's cool, it's fun. However, that creates a lot of problems, obviously. First, in terms of accessibility, it's expensive. They're often really bad quality. And I've tried some of them, we've all tried some of them, and you know, you get like itching and burning, and it leaks, it slips. There's all these quality control issues. And then there's like the being able to actually purchase them. So can you get to the shop? Is there a man there? Are you going to, as the Thai video showed, there's a man in the shop, don't want to buy from them. And so they resort to a lot of other options. Our research shows that 71% of women couldn't afford disposable pads their last period. And so they're going to choose cloths, and that's really the best option that they choose. But I mean, we have people telling us they use cloth, they wrap cloth around natural products like dried leaves and grass, cow dung, things like that. They use mattress stuffing, newspaper, like as Flo said, people are super resourceful, so they'll use anything they can get their hands on and go about their day. And so what we try, and I think you showed the slide earlier with the food versus menstruation dilemma. Yeah, exactly. So a pack of disposable, or women are spending $2.50 per period, which equals 6 liters of milk, 4 loaves of bread, or 2 kilos of rice for their family. And that it becomes a food versus menstruation dilemma. And especially as a woman, like as a girl, you often don't have money. And as a woman, you're choosing your family. So we work with reusable products, washable pads, and menstrual cups. And it creates a massive difference in terms of the financial sustainability, as well as the environmental impact. For example, the lifetime cost of disposable pads in Tanzania is nearly $1,000 US, whereas the lifetime cost of menstrual cups is, I think it's $62 or $65, something like that. And so when you think about it that way, it's a massive, massive impact on an entire family, especially when there are multiple menstruators. You have the women, you have multiple children menstruating. Like, it's a huge financial impact on the family when suddenly all these funds can be put towards school fees and food and textbooks and that sort of thing.
No, thanks. I mean, I come from a family of 4 girls, so I can I imagine what my mom was dealing with every single, month, making these hard choices. And that's the reality of around the world, right? And I think the model that you guys are trying to do with Femme International of looking at innovative social business models, looking at product innovations in this time of needing to have sustainability and sustainable sort of products out there on the market, and introducing those, and you're doing that because it's what women and girls are asking for. They are naturally, just go full circle to our conversation here, they are naturally asking their mothers and their aunties for information on their periods, and you're now making a business model that's valuing that adult woman as that source of information, and now having the ability to distribute the product as well. And again, I think there's so many elements of what that means from just the impact on the women and girls and the community. So we're going to go to Q&A now, and I've been monitoring the function at the bottom of our screen, and I encourage you all to continue to put your questions in there. But maybe I'll send the first question to Emily maybe first, and then Hannah, you can jump in as well, as the Oki app is being translated to the African market. But how does the Oki app function, Emily, when it comes to girls? Like, how much information can they get via the app, and then how much are they directed to other sources of information, when they maybe to sort of medical information or other resources?
Yeah, thanks, Patty, for the question. It's a great one. So we're constantly updating the information that's available in the app based on the feedback loop that we do have for girls. So girls can send us emails and ask for what kind of content they want. Also, when we're going out and marketing Oki in person, we have like activation events. We also get feedback then from girls. So we're constantly updating the content itself. But they also can link to other sources or resources. And one thing that we do have available in the app is for every country, they can put a hotline number or a reliable health service provider that can either provide them with more information or more support should they have a need for more serious counseling or other services. So that's really great, I think. And another thing that I would mention is that Oki is really an amazing product because it is open source, and we are looking to collaborate with as many different partners as possible. And one of the features that we've been exploring for a while now is how could we have an in-app chatbot where girls would be able to ask questions live and potentially get answers based on machine learning technology. So that's something exciting that we're still under the exploration process of, but I think the technology is there and we're still, you know, developing it and exploring it, but excited to see if we can make that work.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think the innovations within the innovations when you're talking about an app and how you only get to that point by having these continuous feedback loops that are teaching you and we're learning from. And, you know, maybe if you want to sort of jump in here, Hannah, of why it's been really important for you guys to be working with girls to try to localize this app and what you know they're going to be connected to through other sources of support from your context. I think it's really important. People, you know, there's a lot of questions in the chat of how the app is not the only solution, right? I mean, it's about connecting to other sources of information and support. So Hannah, you want to jump in and give some feedback?
All right, thank you, Patty. The reason why we feel it is important to involve the girls is because number one, it has been contextualized in Asia, so we feel like it's important to really like bring out the Kenyan or the African girl, you know, as they use the app, they're able to like now give feedback on some of the characters. They're able to say, I think we'd like an African character in the app, you know, someone that they resonate to, and also the feel they would like to maybe get more information. The app has a really insightful encyclopedia, and also in terms of the Kenyan referral system, there's the Kenyan Childline helpline that is on the app, where if they required any help, there's but I hope we can also add some of the hotlines, like our hotline, where they can be able to talk to counselors or psychologists if they have any questions anytime. So I hope that is something that we can input, since Emil said that it's an open source. So that is some of the feedback that will be given out once we're at that stage. Thank you, Patty.
Can you talk a little bit about, you know, in the way the hotline is being used today? Like, what's the kind of questions that, forget about that it's not connected to an app right now, but what's the kind of questions you're getting from girls, and how is the hotline a good source of information for them?
Well, our OIDP, or the one-to-one platform, has a toll-free number whereby we have callers, whether it's the girls, the boys, where they're able to call us and ask away any questions regarding HIV, SRH, GBV issues, and any other questions that they may have. We'll now, and from there we have psychologists who are professionals at what they do, and they're able to maybe advise the girl, they're able to maybe assist the girl, and if they feel that this girl is needs more assistance, they're able to refer. We have a referral system and a follow-up system where we're able to also follow up with the girl whether they are able to get the help that they required. So I think it's a good integration with what we are doing. If we could be able to, you know, just have a merge. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you know, I think it's really important, a couple of points that you mentioned there about the again, the reliability of information by having these seasoned professionals, but also then the other point, and it kind of goes to Emily's technology solution, is like an internal chatbot. But you know, what sort of what we've been living for decades is sort of making sure we have these referral pathways, and we have these sort of ways that we can follow up. Did the girl continue along that journey, and if not, how do we help her make those connections? And you know, it's you know, technology and innovation is just taking what I think all of us who are on this panel have lived for decades, and they're sort of translated into other systems that actually have the same quality. And I think that's your example is really good about that, you know, in trying to introduce this app now. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because it's another topic that's come up in the Q&A, and I'll ask maybe Jen to talk first. And it's around this whole aspect of sort of sustainable products or reusable products, and how much what do we know about sort of what women and girls in particularly Africa, think about these products? What access do they have to these products? And how is that part of what is on your horizon of thinking at, maybe we'll just start with Femme International's experience first. So Jen, over to you.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. And so the first thing is that reusables are not very common. They're not well known. And that's a bit of a global thing. That's not really an Africa thing. That's globally, when you talk about washable pads, period underwear, menstrual cups, I mean, especially cups, they're growing in popularity, but in general, people are like, oh, really? I don't have to buy something and throw it out every month? Like, that's great. And so the reception, especially with cups, it requires some work. It doesn't just happen. I mean, you show a menstrual, I wish I had mine here, but you show a menstrual cup to anybody for the first time, and anybody is going to go, what? That goes where? Oh my gosh. Again, that's a universal thing, regardless of age or location or whatever. And so it takes some work. The washable pads and period underwear, they're a lot easier because most menstruators, at least at some point during every period, they're using a fabric. And so they have like their special fabric that they wash and they reuse it. And the washable pads and period underwear, they're pretty similar to that. They're higher quality, so they're more absorbent, they wash easier, they dry faster, but that concept is very familiar. And so if they have the soap, the water resources required, people happily go onto that, and they're like, great, this is kind of the same thing, I don't have to do much more work. And it's very well received, especially for younger girls. There's a lot of issues that come up around age and virginity and all that sort of thing. With cups, it requires more work for sure. And it requires, follow-up and education and addressing larger sociocultural issues. But once you get people using it, they work really well. Like, they're great for low resource contexts where you don't have access to a lot of water or soap. And you can wear them for so long and they last for 10 years. And so financially, they're the best solution out there at the moment. And once people get used to them is when they want them more and they're telling their friends. And that's very much where the idea for Twende came from as well, because we would go back for M&E and everybody would be saying, hey, can I get this for my mom, for my sister? The teachers were asking, like, everybody wanted to know where they could buy these products. And we were like, there's a need, we have to figure something out to fill that gap.
No, that's so, I think that just really talked a lot about why you, even the trajectory of why you're at Twende as a business model. And you're building on, again, long-standing, we ask each other as women and girls for information, and we see each other as sources of trust. And I think how that links to the business model that you're now trying to do, building on that trust link, but making it into a business model instead of just a nonprofit model. And also how you're slowly bringing in maybe a broader range of introduction into these other products. But I think your point is so well made, particularly of how in so many places around the world, the use of reusable materials is a long-standing sort of experience, but the quality that maybe is brought in by some of these other products is something you'll be building on in your model. And maybe, Bernie, do you want to come in and just talk a little bit about that? I'm curious of how much in, the work you've done in designing the videos, how much you've been hearing from girls themselves or any of the others around sort of the reusable products and how much that's part of their conversation or awareness right now.
So it's definitely been like almost a 50-50 split based off of our research, but then also research that we cite in our videos. It's like almost always 50-50. But the reason for it is not because, so the 50% that opt for reusable items is not necessarily for the reusability of it. It's just either lack of access to the to the non-reusable items or lack of finances to purchase it. So the option for reusable items becomes more along the lines either because of financial barriers, or because of just how easily accessible the non-reusable products are.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I want to thank everyone for this, your insights into this discussion today. It's been so insightful to hear the commonalities of what girls are wanting and experiences, how you're translating that into different types of innovative solutions to complement the other ways of looking at addressing menstrual health and hygiene in all the places that we work. And I just, I'm just so super impressed with all the different innovations that have been discussed here today. And I know you're going to have much success in the future with scaling these, and I look forward to following them as you make your journey, and we all learn together in this. So thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt for a couple of closing words.
Wow, thank you. What a fantastic panel. We owe all of you such a debt of gratitude for sharing your wisdom with us today. Patty, your kind of conversational and inviting tone and touch and moderating just made it such a nice conversation. And a big thank you to Bernie and Jen and Hannah and Emily for your contributions. I'm sorry, Flo, that the technology didn't work out with the background noise, but I know you've been a real key part of crafting this panel as well. So a big thank you to all of you. And it was such an inspiring conversation. One of the critiques we often face in the fields of social innovation and social entrepreneurship is this concept of the heropreneur, someone parachuting in from the outside with their preconceived solution and forcing it on the local community. And you've proven to us as true innovators the real ability to harness, the idea of design thinking and putting girls at the center and developing solutions that really needed, wanted, address the local context, needs, desires, and so forth. So you give us great hope for the future of social innovation in this area and designing solutions with, not only for, but with girls and young women. So thank you so much. Best wishes for continued impact and success. And to everyone who's joined us here today, we hope you enjoyed this conversation and any other events you had a chance to participate in this week. This panel actually concludes our virtual forum on social innovation. It's been such a wonderful opportunity to share not only these amazing social enterprises today, but our other 3 innovators in the first cohort. And it's been wonderful to share them with the world. One of our biggest goals through this partnership with UNICEF is to support and celebrate promising innovations in menstrual health and hygiene, and to really spotlight the importance of menstrual health and hygiene in achieving gender equality worldwide. So this forum has allowed us to do that on a new level, and we look forward to continuing to work together toward greater impact. We really hope each of you find ways to stay in touch with us, engage in any way you can, follow up and look into these wonderful innovators, the work they're doing. You can look at our website, Duke-UNICEF.org, and you'll see there are links to each of these and our other innovators as well to learn more. And a quick note to all of our innovators, please remember that as soon as we're done here, we're going to reconvene on a separate Zoom link for a quick wrap up of the week. So with that, again, thank you, Patty. Thank you to our panelists. Everybody have a happy Friday, a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy, and best wishes to you in whatever way you're pursuing impact in the world. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, panelists. What a wonderful conversation.